Hey beauties, I'm back for another week of Kim Cooks Live, where I'm so excited to make really simple, easy, delicious beauty detox recipes for you guys. And it's nice to have the recipes, but it can be extra support to see me making them and give you little tips along the way, which I'm so excited to share about. And also at the end, after I make our dish, I'm going to take some questions from you guys and see any other little questions you may have or any ways we can make it easier for you. So if you guys want to go back and check out last week's episode, remember the hashtag is Kim Cooks Live. Last week we made the gluten-free avocado and sprout wrap, which is a staple that I make for myself almost every day. And today I thought it would be fun to do another staple for you guys that we make here in my house maybe like once every week, every 2 weeks as part of dinner. It's Lankan Dahl, which is a lentil dish. It is a beautiful, almost like a stew with lentils and different spices, and we usually pair it with brown rice, big salad, lots of veggies. This dal recipe is very, very high in plant-based protein. It's a nice hearty meal. It's nice and warm. It's going to feel amazing in the winter, especially right now in the winter, especially if you live in a very, very cold place. It's something you can also take with you to work. You can even have it room temperature. It makes for great leftovers. You can make it for lunch the next day. So it's a really versatile dish, and it's fantastic and it's delicious. So there's probably a million different dal recipes in the world. I'm going to make for you the one that I sort of tweaked and tailored after I was in Sri Lanka last summer. So it's a little bit creamy, it's a little bit richer, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. So here I'm going to start with cooking the lentils. I have 4 cups of water that I'm going to pour into my little pot here. And usually with lentils, you want to cook to a 1-to-3 ratio. So 1 cup of lentils, 3 cups of water. But since I like my dal a little bit soupy, and this is where, you know, your individual taste can vary. You can stick to 3 cups. I do 4, so it's a little bit more soupy. So I'm going to get this started. I'm going to explain about these magical lentils here. So I'm putting 1 cup of the red lentils in. And then I'm going to get that started on my back burner. This takes, you know, dal probably takes when you're simmering it, oops, wrong burner. When you're simmering it and cooking it down, it could take 30 minutes or so, let's say. So I'm going to keep it on high, and when it starts to get, really get close to boiling, I'm going to turn it down. So again, I did 4 cups of water, 1 cup of these red lentils. You can see now we have labels in my kitchen. And what's amazing, these are germinated lentils. You can see I just cooked them dry. They are already soaked and sprouted, so they digest easier. If you look in the bin section of health markets now, they have a lot of germinated brown rice, lentils, different seeds and nuts. So it's always an amazing option. So the red lentils actually turn yellow. This is something I didn't know until a couple years ago when I started making dal for myself. So it can be a little bit confusing. You can also make dal with different types of lentils. These happen to be my favorite. I love the taste. Again, it reminds me of traveling in Sri Lanka and India. That classic yellow dal that you're used to comes from red lentils. And again, unless it's really difficult to find sprouted, they're a little bit more expensive, like 60 cents more or something. You can get regular red lentils, and then you just want to be sure to soak them overnight and rinse them well, and that way it helps remove the phytic acid, makes it much easier to digest. So we just did the lentils and water so far. So that's going to cook for a while, and into that I'm going to add, I already cut this before, a couple of fresh ginger slices from a nub. So I'm probably going to do like an inch or so, like just nice big ginger slices. It's going to help the surface area is quite large. It's going to help all that ginger taste, all that ginger essence get into your dal. So I throw that right in. And then my other secret ingredient for the dal, which I'm really excited to share with you guys, is cinnamon sticks. And I did this the other day. I don't do it every single dal batch that I make, but I did. These are huge cinnamon sticks, so I'm just going to use 1. I was going to use 2. This is by Frontier Co-op. If you're looking for great spices, they're organic and fair trade, and these are the biggest cinnamon sticks that I've seen. So I'm only going to do 1, and I'm just going to put it right in there with the dal while it's cooking. And again, in the West, we're used to just using cinnamon for sweet treats. We don't really use savory, we don't really use cinnamon that much in savory, but it adds a lot of flavor when you're cooking, especially Indian dishes or Sri Lankan dishes. It's actually part of garam masala and certain curry mixes, cinnamon is, even though we don't realize it. It's a really great thing to add. Cinnamon is also amazing for metabolism and immunity. It's great for blood sugar levels. It's even been prescribed for diabetics. So it's a really fantastic ingredient to add, as well as the ginger. So you can already see how many amazing beauty foods are in our very simple dal recipe. The ginger is also warming, helps open the shrotas, the pathways of the body. They say in Ayurveda, it's not irritable or it's not irritating. It works for all body types, all different doshas. It's just a fantastic food. I keep ginger all the time in my fridge, and I use it all the time in different recipes. Okay, so the problem with this recipe is, we're just going to have to fast forward a little bit in our mind because it takes so long to cook. But this is going to take a little while. So while this is cooking down, I'm going to show you guys what else we're going to put in. Next ingredient, this is going to add beautiful color into your dal, is turmeric, an amazing beauty detox food. Turmeric is, I think I have an open one. Hold on one second. Turmeric is a blood cleaner. Let me see. Yes, I do have an open one. I like to use all my spices through before I open a new container just to keep them super fresh. So I'm going to put about, for this size, I admit I'm a little bit aggressive with my seasoning. Turmeric is pretty earthy. You might want to start with 1/4 teaspoon. I usually put about anywhere between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric right in there. It's going to add a beautiful color. It's a blood cleaner. It's anti-inflammatory. It's wonderful. And in the West, a lot of us don't cook with turmeric that much, so it's hard to fit it in. And it's earthy, so it's really great when you compare it with a lot of different spices. Here we already have the ginger, we have the cinnamon, and we're going to add more. So it works well. I'm just going to stir it right in as the lentils are cooking. And now we are going to do the next ingredient, which is whole cumin seeds. And a lot of I do use cumin powder a lot of the time, but what I love about the seeds is when you smell the seeds, it's so bright and so strong and so fresh, and they're so delicious. So what we do with the cumin seeds, when you're working with seeds whole like this, there's natural oils in them. And again, this is an Ayurvedic preparation. So in this recipe, my teacher, Dr. J, taught me you have to actually cook the cumin seeds in some coconut oil in a fatty base, and then we're going to put that into our dal about 5 minutes before it's done ready, and that will preserve all the flavor of the cumin seeds. So I'm going to cook the cumin seeds in a little bit of coconut oil, which I have here, and my trusty green pan, which I use for everything. And again, if you guys missed the sprout, so now the dal is starting to boil. Hold on a second, I'm just going to turn that down to low and let it simmer while we make the rest of the dal. If you guys missed my gluten-free avocado and sprout recipe last week, our cooking demo, I was talking about this green pan because I'm obsessed with it. It's like 20 bucks. You can get it at Bed Bath & Beyond. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at most cooking stores. It's like 20 bucks. It's ceramic. Oh, shoot. This is what happens when I when I blab on and on. I'm not paying attention. So just boiled over a little. You have to be really careful with lentils because that does happen. Put it super low, and just let it simmer on there. So I was blabbing on about the green pan because, as I mentioned, I don't think you need a ton of cooking gear. It's good to have a couple pieces that you love. One great knife, one great green pan, a couple pots, a great cutting board, and then you can keep adding to your repertoire, but you don't need so much. Okay, great. So that's nice and low. And I'm gonna, hold on, I need to get a new spoon. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of coconut oil here. Just like a little spoon of it. And I'm going to add it to the green pan. And for cooking the cumin seeds, I'm going to put it on about medium. Okay, so we've got the oil in there. If you guys are joining us, welcome. We're making Sri Lankan Dahl, which is an Ayurvedic preparation. You can always mix and match your spices. You don't have to use the red lentils, as I mentioned, but this is my favorite way of making dal that I just want to share with you. And I also hope you can see how easy it is. I'm just talking, so it seems like it takes a lot of time, but it's so easy. So far, the ginger's in there with the cinnamon sticks, the red lentils, water, and turmeric. And I'm just heating a little bit of coconut oil here in a separate pan, just kind of swishing the oil around. Now, when you're cooking these seeds, cumin seeds, sometimes I use mustard seeds. I don't really want to do that today. I don't feel like it. But you want to make sure it's not too hot. But they also need to like pop, so to speak. The natural oils come through. This really gets the flavor out of the cumin seeds, which is going to flavor the whole dal. So it's medium low. And then I'm going to take about, let's say like for that size, maybe like half a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons, depending on how aggressively you like to season your food. And sometimes I'm scared of like throwing things in hot oil and having the hot oil spatter. I've seen my teacher, Dr. J, just kind of throw it in there. It's medium low right now, and you guys can see I'm just cooking the cumin seeds in the oil just to help release the flavor and the fragrances, the natural essence of the cumin seeds. So this is like a couple steps ahead. This is gonna add really amazing flavor throughout the dal. If you don't have cumin seeds or you don't have time, you wanna make it simpler, you could just add cumin powder to your dal instead. You don't have to do the whole seeds, but I thought it would be fun today to show you guys that. So you go do and just cook them for a couple minutes. Again, some people do 30 seconds, like super hot oil, and that freaks me out. One of the moms in my mom's group just like tried doing something like that and had this little oil burn on her hand from coconut oil, and that also freaked me out. So I like to do gentle, just releasing the oils, a little bit safer, right? Okay, so that's gonna go on. Maybe I could turn it up a little bit more. And let's see what else we have. So as I mentioned, I think there's probably 8 million dal recipes in the world. For my recipe, we're gonna pretend that this has been cooking for a while in here and it's almost cooked. Towards the end, besides the cumin seeds, got a little water in there. So these have cooked a little bit. I'm gonna turn this off. If you guys were in my kitchen now, you could smell the cumin. It smells really fragrant and amazing from the whole seeds. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, we use whole cumin seeds in this separate green pan, and we're not gonna add this in until the end. So it's really important that we don't boil the cumin seeds for a long time, the whole seeds, because that would diminish, it would make the potent flavor a little bit more watered down. So we just cook them a little bit, let them pop. It's very fragrant. So I'm gonna turn the heat off and set them to the side. So imagine, because when you do this at home, you can start the lentils cooking and then like do all these other steps in like 15 minutes. So it's starting to thicken for sure. I'm doing it super low. But what I am gonna add, and this is what I do for the Sri Lankan dal, is some coconut milk. And this is by So Delicious. It's called the culinary coconut milk, and they usually have it in the Asian section of grocery stores. So if you look in the health market, there's that Asian section with like noodles and sea vegetables and you know, all kinds of things like that, nori. And that's where I found the culinary coconut milk, but you know, it just depends on your store. If you have trouble finding it, I'm sure you could find it online. So I'm gonna put in, and it squeezes out really thick. And you look at it, it's kind of nasty looking. But I like it because it is not a can. So, you know, it's just easier to work with, and you're not gonna get the issues with aluminum cans. So it's an option, you know, if you really can't find it, of course, there are the cans, you know, is another option. But this is the one I usually go to, and I'm gonna fill it up all the way, about half a cup. So if you're making this at home, you could simmer your lentils, wait a little while, and then add the coconut milk. I'm just gonna do it here to show you guys. Half a cup of the culinary, so it's like super thick. So you have to like really get it out there and scrape it out. So you guys can see, I'm gonna hold this up for you. You can see that, can you see that far? Yeah, let me move this. I don't want to take it off because last week I did it and I turned the whole thing off. So you can see that it's starting to get nice and thick. And you can see that there's our big, huge, fat cinnamon stick in there. And all the pieces of ginger and the turmeric. And so it's so fragrant. It smells amazing, I have to say. Okay, so it's nothing like, one of the best things about cooking is I think the whole kitchen smells great and it just feels so homey and amazing, right? So that's going on, and then what I'm also gonna do is a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. So I always say freshly ground in my recipes. There's some that believe that, well, first of all, it tastes that much better. You're grinding it on the spot, so the fresh oils are just so potent, so flavorful. And then Dr. J, some, Ayurvedic practitioners will say it's not good to use the pre-ground for various reasons, but we all do our best. So if you can get like a little pepper mill, it can add a big pop for flavor. Okay, so this is I'm gonna let this cook for a little while. Once it's cooked at the very end, let's see how long it's been cooking. It's been cooking for about, I think 12 minutes or so. Right before we end, I'll add the cumin seeds and show you guys the final thing. The very last thing is the cumin seeds, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of sea salt. And I don't like to add salt until the very end because then you end up, sometimes salt can be absorbed, you end up using more and more and more. So usually when I cook, I do salt at the very end, and then you use, what you need to make it flavorful, but you don't have to overdo it. Hi guys, Denise says the color is lovely. Yes, the turmeric makes a beautiful color, as you guys can see, that is just appetizing. It pairs really well against greens, like a green salad, brown rice, complete, like all the protein, all the nourishment, everything that you need in a nice stew is really wonderful. And if you want, you can also put in, I don't really do this myself because I usually have a separate veggie dish. You could put veggies in your dal. Susanna says, what do you think about turmeric powder versus fresh turmeric? So this is a great question. Here in California, I see fresh turmeric all the time, just like you see fresh ginger, and I've always wondered, should I use the fresh turmeric, because usually we're told to use fresh when we can. My teacher, Dr. J, says for women, the fresh turmeric opens up the fluids, the lymphatics for women too much. So he says for women, don't ever use fresh turmeric in cooking. It can just be too strong. So I always tend to use powdered turmeric. That's just according to my teacher. So I've always used the powdered. When it comes to cumin, I go back and forth with the whole seeds, and with ginger, I always mostly use fresh ginger as much as possible. Hi, Susanna from Toronto. Hi, Kim. What do you think about apple cider vinegar? Sure, so apple cider vinegar is, not part of this recipe. We don't need it to brighten per se. We can use that in a lot of other recipes. I think it's great I use in place of other vinegars. And if you look at all the recipes in Beauty Detox Foods, I use it in place of white wine or in place of, when you need an acid. I don't do the whole thing where I dilute it and drink it. I don't like the taste of that at all. And I also have hot water with lemon, hot water with ginger, so I don't think it's necessary. I think it's good for digestion. I think it's good for your gut health, all types of things, but I prefer to work it in salad dressings in my cooking versus having it live. Cut the ginger. Yes, you want to cut the ginger. Some people grate the ginger, but I don't. When I'm making a stew, I like big, long pieces like you guys saw me throw in there. And then when it's little, sometimes I get like a bite and it's just this huge ginger chunk. And I find when it's big, I just gets more of the flavor in there. So that's always how I've made the dal myself. And she loves the red lentils too. Hi, Chris. And lots of you guys tell us why lentils are good for the body. So lentils are, especially when they're soaked and sprouted, they're easier to digest. Lots of minerals, lots of protein. A cup of lentils has 18 grams of protein. So it's just a great hearty food that you want to add to vegetables. You can add to a green salad. Makes an amazing dinner, amazing meal. All plant-based, vegan, really easy to digest. And sending love to you too, Nicole. Hi, Canada. Oh my God, so many of you guys. Perfect. I'm so glad that we caught each other. Okay, so I think I answered most of your questions, and then this guy has been kind of cooking for a little bit. It's not done. If I was doing this myself for full dinner, I would just let this chill. I'd be making my salad right now, doing other things. But I just want to show you guys, it's been cooking now. Can you see? I'll make it closer again. Come close. Okay. So you can see that it's starting to really thicken up here, right? And we've got I'm obsessed with this cinnamon stick. It's so huge, right? I'm telling you guys, cinnamon stick is the secret ingredient with the dal. It's amazing. So now you guys can see the whole cumin seeds that I cooked earlier. So imagine this is like the end, and we're not going to cook this much longer, and that's the key. You don't want to like boil it in there, cook it in there the whole time your lentils are cooking. But now, since it's towards the end, I'm going to add the whole cumin seeds into the rest of the dish with the lentils, the coconut milk, everything else that we put in. Da-da-da! And now, not only is it a beautiful color of yellow, and not only does it have a giant cinnamon stick and ginger, but you see all these like beautiful pops of brown from the cumin seeds. So I put it on super low. This probably needs at least 15 more minutes of thickening, lots of love, putting love into it, just getting it nice. And I admit I was pretty aggressive with the cumin seeds. I put about almost a half a tablespoon. You could probably just do a teaspoon, especially if you're new to it, because I did put a lot. But I love cumin, so it's up to you, right? So this is just going to thicken and thicken, eventually be more like, you see the lentils there cooked, it'll be like that consistency. And again, this is what we'll have for dinner tonight. I'll make a huge green salad with carrots, lots of colorful veggies, just to add lots of, I like to have colorful dinners with lots and lots of different vegetables, some purple cabbage. We'll also eat this with some brown rice, and I'll put microgreens on top. Let me see. Yes. I always have microgreens in my fridge. These are my favorite ones, by the way, the broccoli ones. They're really high in nutrients. They're amazing for your skin, for your beauty, for your energy, lots of antioxidants. So when something's yellow or just brown, like brown rice, I always sprinkle the microgreens on top, and it makes it look really pretty. So let's see, any last questions from you guys on how to make? So if you're not sure of the whole recipe, please look on KimberlySnyder.com. You guys can see the Sri Lankan Dahl recipe on there. Hopefully this was really helpful as well. I'll be on here every week making a simple, easy, delicious recipe for you guys, walking you through so these recipes can become part of your life, part of your regimen, part of, you know, Beauty Detox, the philosophy only really works if you implement it into your life. We have the GGS, the morning routine, and I want to make sure you guys have all these amazing recipes that you can start to implement for lunch and dinner as well. Easy snacks. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, please go to KimberlySnyder.com for the full recipe. And I'll see you guys back here. Remember, hashtag KimCooksLive. You can watch all the past shows, and I'll be doing this every week. So take good care, beauty. Sending you lots and lots of love.